with, it was just a couple of years ago. We did put that down on the bid process that they were required to clean it up. So do we need to do any of that?
We don't have to put the requirement on that. That has nothing, that's not our jurisdiction to do. Planning and zoning kind of takes care of that part of it. It is known, it's bought as is, and the expectations that we always send them down to planning and zoning to know what those expectations are before they make their bids on it. There are some cleanups in the past, and we had dropped it way down because we knew that they were gonna have money. So that's entirely up to you if that's what you wanna do, and just, we could start out with these bids as is if you want. If it doesn't sell, you as a committee can always reduce the minimum bid and we can repost it again with a smaller bid if you don't think it's gonna go. That's another option.
Go ahead, Mike.
What has the committee done in the past? I heard Rocky mentioned something about $500 over the required money to be paid.
We were typically adding extra money to the bid if it had a working well and septic. If there was a lot of acreage that went with it, we would add $500 per acre, say, over and above the taxes owed. But like she said, we don't get that money, so why are we doing that?
So in the past, Mike, we split the committee in two separate tours in the years that I've been involved, and we went out and toured each one of these properties. And at that time, we would set what we would do for a minimum bid on. Some of them we were higher than what was owed on it. And some of them we were just figured we were lucky if we got what was owed. We set the bids accordingly. We kind of looked at it, figured out what the value of the property was. And some of them had fooled me dramatically. Right, Jay?
And in the past, the overall was if there was one that had a severe needing of cleanup, well over probably the cost of what the worth of the property was. We put that really, really low because we do that, but then we would have the funds from the ones that might have gone over to help offset the cost. That is gone, now we have to do it individually. So if we take a loss on one, it'll be a loss. And then just barely get what we want from the other ones.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
may I recommend that, because we don't get to keep the proceeds, or the net proceeds, if you will, may we kind of just pursue what is owed on the deed foreclosure plus maybe a percentage that we could construe as being an admin cost? It could be just a flat percentage, whatever is reasonable. I don't know what that would look like. I mean, obviously, we do have a cost for proceedings and also taking you guys on tours. There's a mileage reimbursement cost there. So any thoughts?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Rocky said, the cost plus $500. Was that what you said, Rocky? You didn't say a number. Okay. But that's something like what we were thinking of, rather than do the tour and everything. Just $500 over, or a percentage over what we have coming, what is owed to the county.
So is that a legit thing to do a flat rate, or do we have to maintain it? Have it?
I think that we've got to keep records of our personal costs.
Each one would be different.
Each one would be different. Yeah, we should, we have to keep records of our costs, so each one would be separate, so I don't think we can do a flat fee. So, and I'm throwing this out here, why not start out with the assessed value of the properties? That doesn't work? Oh, that was, okay, you guys have the experience in it with that, I just,
They wouldn't sell.
okay.
As in the very first one, the assessed values is almost 100,000. That's the major cleanup. We're not going to get ourselves. And they have to hit the minimum bid. So
Right.
the bids could go higher. I mean, this is just a set minimum. I'm hoping to get that. But most of you know, in the past, the bids do go up.
I mean, there's gonna be overages, we can't, unless we add zero, but that's not reasonable, we wanna get our money out of it. But if they then just bear, you know, if we just get the bare minimum, then we get our money back.
So would it be fair to go just with money owed to the county plus cost incurred, right?
But I assume that if you put it as is, I'm gonna have the records, and then I'll just take whatever that minimum. I would say, I think you'd be fine starting out with the minimum of the outstanding taxes. Like I said, that's a minimum bid. The bids, I think, will go higher, and that should help cover our costs. Whatever, if ever, there might be some.
Are there generally a lot of costs with these, or based on your past experience?
My mileage if I go out. Because in the past, they told me I could not use my hours, you know, my time, but, and so we never did it. We do have a fee that was added to this based on average costs already on here, and that is in there for that.
We should be. Okay.
Don't we have a fee for court cost?
That's. The original court stuff is already, it's that 200, I already have that incorporated with these outstanding, with fees, it says with fees, that's where those are at. So that first line that I have, it says outstanding taxes, but there's also an added fee already into it from when we started. Which is an average of how much it's cost us for publishing.
I guess I would entertain a motion that we set these bids at money, assess money, tax fees owed plus expenses.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, motion made by Rocky, seconded by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
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 I have an in addition to. All right, on your list, I have the top ones through the city of Adams there. That was our tax deed foreclosure ones. But we do have two properties that the county has chosen for you guys to sell. To which you can, at this time, ask for a minimum bid on those. That you can do at your own thing. It's a county-owned property. We decided they didn't want and need to have them anymore, so we can be selling them now. So I put the assessed values on there. I got those from the assessors for those townships, told me how much the land values would be if it was on a tax roll. So I have two properties there that I would like to ask you guys to set minimum bids to add to the collection.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's go ahead, Mike.
is the second property that's listed under the one that says landlocked for $2,300, is that the one that is adjacent to Dyracuse?
No,
Okay,
The second one is a landlocked small strip that is between two farms in the middle of all their farmland. It is no good to anybody but those two venues. These in the past, because they were landlocked, it came about based on somebody had done certified surveys and the strip got lost. So we've had it this long. In the past on these kind, we just offer it basically to, it doesn't have to go in the newspaper, let's put it that way. You could choose to just offer it to the two owners at a minimum bid and let them bid it off. The other one is it used to be part of the gravel pit down there when they did the roads down by 82. And I did take pictures, and obviously some of you can't see them, but it's a nice spot and it's 4 acres. But to get it back on the tax roll would be a really good thing to do. So it may be assessed at 18,000 You could choose a lower minimum bid, and like I said, it's a bid. People will put in as they choose.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Kyle to maybe bring that up? I don't know if that's on our list, Kyle, of all the county-owned property.
Yeah, these were the two that were brought forth to the property committee a couple months ago. What initially we brought forward a list of, I think, like 6, and then we had narrowed down, okay, we need some of these, we need this one or that one for whatever reason. And these were the 2 that the county has no use for. And the one that Supervisor Baker was referencing to up in Rome, that one, Rome had actually reached out to me about purchasing that, and I think they were gonna work on something, and that'll come before the property committee, I believe, as well, if we get to that point. But Rome's aware of that one, and then these other 2 are just the ones that we're gonna sell.
Okay, so Kyle, just for clarification, we're asking then here that this go for auction.
Yes.
Okay, and then we're asking for a minimum bid.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, you sell these properties on an auction through a listing company? How does that work? They have in the past been a sealed bid to the
Yes.
treasurer's office.
But even the county properties have gone on to the same process. It's just that this is money we get to keep. It's not a foreclosure. It will be on our sales list, but it's money we get to keep in this.
But generally,
But we've always
you make
just done
more
it this
money
way.
on a public auction than you would on a sealed bid, because of the nature of how things work. People bid against each other, the price goes up. That's
your
questionable. I've seen, in the past few years that I've been on this committee, I've seen some bids come in that were, I thought, crazy. Extremely high, extremely high,
Yeah.
Oh,
As a
sealed bid? Yes.
Oh,
That is an option for you to consider if you want to separate those out differently, or that particular one, maybe. The landlocked one.
Okay, the assessed value on the landlocked one is $2,300.
So they say.
And how many acres is that?
It didn't give me an acreage, it's just a skinny little strip that is between 2 40-acre parcels. It's just a little strip out of it.
It's worthless to anybody but the 2 landowners. So let's do that one first. Has anybody got any suggestions how much we should put up in that, Mike?
Well, in looking at the listings for the parcels that have outstanding taxes with fees, the property at 26, or the parcel number 26-852 is valued at about $18,400, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. And the property that you're looking at is $18,200. Would we then look at what the outstanding taxes and fees are for one property that's valued at just about the same amount and look at using that for a minimum bid?
Well, these properties are owned by the county currently. We're selling these.
Right, aren't you setting a minimum bid?
Right. So if we said, if that assessed value is 18.2, we can set a minimum bid anywhere we want.
They're not. That was, just the Jackson one was part of an area that they used for the gravel and stuff when they were doing roads, fixing the roads down there. So it's just, somebody must have gave the landowner some money. I don't know how that works, so I'm not a highway
I'm
person.
familiar with the property somewhat. I don't know, I would think it's worth all of the 18.2. It is, what is it, almost 5 acres? 4.4 acres. It'd be a building site, but it'd take a lot of work.
It's
What's,
pretty,
what's the zoning on that, Jen?
I look at it. That's planning and zoning, so I don't have, that's a different situation. Like I said, it hasn't been on the tax roll. so I don't have it.
Right.
As a thought, like Rocky, this is kind of like where Rocky was talking about earlier about ideas. It's partially wood and a little bit of field. They had in the past kind of did anything with woods on it. Start out at $1,000 an acre as a guesstimation to start for a minimum bid. I said, this is just minimum bids, doesn't mean that people aren't gonna come in and bid high. If that's a thought.
Well, which one are we working on first?
You had the other one.
Yeah.
Right.
The picture on your screen is the other one.
Okay. The other one was assessed at 2,300, wasn't it? 2,400. But that's
That's if it was worth something to someone.
right.
In the past, these kind of landlocks, we have done $50 or $100 minimum. Sent it to the letters to the adjoining owners saying this is what we have out there. So they know, so if they're interested, they can duke it out. And sometimes we get more. But otherwise, if they don't, it stays in the county and we still don't get it on tax roll. So right now we have 0 on the tax roll, doesn't get anything. Even if we sold it for $100, we're not out anything on that particular one because the county owned it. I mean, there's nothing to it. But if it gets back on the tax roll and then it gets worth 2,300 according to the assessment value, according to the assessment. It's just, in this case, I would say, I would suggest just trying to get it back on the tax roll.
Okay.
That's just my thought.
Anybody want to throw a figure out there in the form of a motion?
Wouldn't you like to get an appraisal on it?
No, not on that one. It isn't much what it cost us to get it appraised.
Serious?
It's landlocked. It's only good to 2
No,
people.
you're talking about.
We're talking about the strip yet.
You're up in the roll.
We're
Okay.
talking about this strip.
The gravel pit.
No, that's not the gravel. That's this little strip right there. They see they served these out and they forgot this strip, so it's in the middle of nowhere. And it's not worth anything
Yeah,
to either. That's like this one.
Well, I'm happy with $100. $100 on the strip of land that's landlocked. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Okay, let's move on to the other one.
So the minimum bid of $5,000. I have nothing to go by.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, my vote would be.
Oh,
Maybe
were
one
there,
of these years I've
were
understood.
there any no's on the previous motion?
There was an abstention.
Okay,
Do you gain financially from voting one way or the other? I have no idea what these properties are. How can I make a judgment on something I have no idea on? Because Jackie is telling me what it is. Well, that's wonderful and it's helpful, but you can't say it.
I
You have
don't,
a problem with an abstention?
I can't even go out there and take it without getting permission from the people to even go out there. I'm sorry.
Where do you need?
I want to be polite and I want you to understand that. I don't like being mean.
I don't think you're mean at all. I'm just saying I abstain. Nobody gets their feelings hurt.
okay, let's move on to the other parcel, the gravel pit.
4,000, I'm okay.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
That's $1,000 an acre. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We've set minimum bids. Next is discussion or act on setting tour dates if needed. I guess they're not needed.
I'm like,
Discuss or act on bid opening dates.
okay,
Because you did what you did, and I can do this and put this together, I can actually get this into the newspaper for the 3 weeks minimum advertisement that we have to have before we can actually open the bids. So I can get this into the newspaper by Thursday, it could run the next 3 weeks after. So that would be the 20th, 27th, and the 3rd. That being the case, if you want for next month's meeting, you could do your bid openings at the meeting. It would fall into the time frame. So if you chose to do that, the bid opening could be at that meeting, which would then mean the winners would have 30 days to pay, and the resolutions could go to the county board in September, and they would have plenty of time before the snow flies to do whatever they need to do.
Go back to our. We go back to our normal meeting dates. Our next meeting should be August 9th. You ready for that?
Yep.
No trouble. I don't have a problem with that. Anybody else?
That could be at 2 o'clock.
Oh, that's an election day, so you don't want to have a meeting on election day?
election day.
Yeah.
Just so not.
I just need to have a set date for you to, whenever you have a meeting. As long as it falls after the August 3rd, I just need to have that date put in the program and the advertisement for when the bid opens. It doesn't have to be that date, just so it's after the 3rd and it's been in the newspaper that.
That day is a primary election, right?
Yes, it is.
So it doesn't take long to vote. We can have a meeting on that day.
Right.
Well, it's okay for us, but
You do it on Monday.
I'm okay with doing it on Monday again if everybody else is. So you want to go Monday morning, or should we do it on Monday afternoon again?
With being that it's a Monday, and the weekend and the mail, if an afternoon would be easier on the people if they mailed it, and then I can get the mail and go through it and make sure we have it, all the bids and everything.
Is that a conflict with any other meetings?
No.
So we do Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock again?
Yeah.
On the 8th. And we'll put bid openings on the agenda. Okay. Maintenance report. Bill, are you on? Okay, Bill's not available. Parks departments, who wants to go first?
Morning or afternoon, everybody. We're well into our busy summer season. Our POS development, which we've been talking about for months, was launched on June 7th, and we've been having quite a few problems with accounting issues on it. And they're gonna relaunch some corrections tomorrow. 4th of July busy weekend that passed. I think both parks were full. And we're still waiting on some equipment orders for this year's current capital budget items. Those items are coming in pretty slowly due to the economy. And then we've also started looking at some of our needs for our budget next year. And hopefully we'll have our budget to present at either the August or the September meeting. Specifically at Castle Park, we did have a new hire start, Logan Bender. He was placed the whole position, used to be called admin assistant. We're calling it an assistant manager LTE position now. So we're pretty much fully staffed now. Like highway construction, County Z has started and has provided some, I'll call it, challenges to get to the park. as of this morning, actually, we're tearing up the entrance and exits to the park, so that will make it a little difficult to get there. We are currently, we continue to post weekly updates on our website and email all of our customers so they are aware of the situation. Again, over the fourth, we had the 4th of July celebration. Castle Rock Lions hosted a car show, food stand, and fireworks. That was a big success. It was well attended and everything went well. We've had a few air conditioning at the park office has ceased to work twice, and they are returning today to double check why the original repairs did not work. We did have some severe storms on June 15th. And we needed to keep the office open for a little bit longer due to campers seeking refuge. We did have a few trees that come down. One just kind of swiped the camper. We didn't really have any damage to the camper from that tree, but we did have a lot of campers that had damage from their awnings and stuff that rolled up from the wind. And that probably took us, a day for us to clean up what we had to clean up. And then we've had a few water main breaks at the park. That's just a repair in the house, but it's just from aging. And our outlying parks, they've seen some heavy use too over the holiday weekends. And that's about all I have to add. Darren, you want to take care of the rest?
I guess for information about people, which you see on the report there, I'm working with MSA on moving forward with that West End expansion. I'm trying to make sure we can get the best bang for our buck. My full-time assistant manager to a rotator cuff and has surgery scheduled for the middle of the month here. Hope to have him back by the end of August. It's kind of put a little bit of a stress with the younger crew there, and him being with a 5-year veteran of working at the park. So it's getting some extra hours for some of us that are trying to make sure we're covering that. We work so tightly with such few crew that we lose one cog in the wheel and it screws up a bunch. And it might be something that we need to look towards in the future to potentially try to change. You generally, a lot of times it's not super bad due to the fact that you have some returning other employees, but this year was exceptionally at 5 students that are between 16 and 17 years old as far as our extra 8 staff members. So it's a lot of training of them young people, but they are coming into their own. Arrowhead boat launch still not scheduled. Eagle's very busy. He's not giving me a date. We're hoping we can get something done yet for the summer. Worst case scenario is after Labor Day, and we do it all at once potentially versus trying to do it in 2 sections. Daily maintenance, of course, up there at the North Parks. Nearly every day we're up there picking up garbage and checking boxes. There was a beach closure last week. I have not heard word yet at the beginning of this week if we are back open as far as blue-green algae at the Lake Arrowhead. Public health and land conservation are working on that. And as always, continue to work on the payments and reimbursement processes for the ATV snowmobile program. And the club members have started working on some of that development stuff in the new Sand Valley area, getting some signage and some brushing done so that we can come in potentially. I'm still waiting word back from our state person if we're gonna have they're gonna rely on myself as a opening them for use as an inspection, or if he's gonna have to come up here from Madison to make sure we're following all the rules. That's a back and forth issue right now. Other than that, nothing major. Of course, follow through any of our revenue stuff too. We're doing pretty good. And this middle of this month will be our final payments for our long-term type people. So that should be at about the max by the next report. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, is there anybody from your department that works like on a Saturday or Sunday checking the boat launches for people to paying to do the launching?
Every Saturday and Sunday, it's at least 2 people are at the boat launches. Yes.
Okay, I mean, are they there like early in the morning or late in the afternoon, or?
It depends on what time we have the availability to get away from the park.
Understand?
It's generally the middle of the afternoon.
Okay. And then just one other housekeeping thing is that the disabled parking sign for the parking lot Sherwood, it needs replacement. If it's made out of OSB or something and it's just falling apart.
Actually, you got a suggestion from a different landowners. We're gonna try to make that a turnaround lane. So it doesn't get blocked up and then move that up the hill. Is the idea, so. Just a matter of same difference, getting some time.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Darren or Doug? Okay. Moving on, report discussion on fairgrounds. We have not had a fair board meeting since our last meeting here, so I really don't have anything to report. Our fair board meeting is tonight. Unless Lyanna's got something that she wants to bring up.
I do not.
Okay. Discuss or act on board rules clarification of the property committee. I believe that's you, Jeff, or is that going to be Cynthia?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that, so I don't know if Cynthia has anything on this.
So, Mr. Chair, all that I have is what is described within the board rules itself. So first we have, I think we needed clarification between the property committee versus a building committee. And so the building committee, as it's worded, is the building committee shall confer and promote to the county board their recommendations for new construction or renovation projects. That seems to be the key. So it's new projects or renovation projects. Said committee shall have oversight responsibilities on proposed projects and projects approved by the county board. Now, Property and Recreation Committee kind of goes into detail a little bit further, but I think the main thing is that when it comes to new construction or the renovation of projects, those are then geared towards the building committee. And you're free to go ahead and read the board rules as it relates to the Property Recreation Committee. But if let's see, I'm going to see. I'm just kind of perusing through here. So as it relates to lands acquired for the tax deed, which obviously was on the agenda today, county clerk is authorized to execute and sign any and all legal documents relating to the sale of purchase of real or personal property. So if we were to acquire any property, that would be the property committee. Review and approve contracts, leases, fees, expenditures, and other agreements as necessary for the construction, improvement, equipment, maintenance, and operation of the airport. So any kind of items related to the airport. And then I guess you can just read, because I'm just repeating what's in the board rules itself. But I think the reason this is coming up is that there was some confusion between the two committees, the purpose and function of each one, and oversight responsibility.
I think the question was originally brought up because of the project for the new roof for the courthouse. And that went to the building committee. And there was a question as to why that wasn't at property committee.
So the roof is considered a renovation.
Okay, has anybody got any questions on that? Okay, Cynthia, I think we're fairly clear on it.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Jane Jarvis, discuss and act on tree trimming removal to maintain the height with clearance of the evacuation route on Adams County property dam, Lake Camelot.
I was contacted by the Rome Fire Chief and also the DNR Firewise representative. And there's an evacuation route that is on the northwest side of the lower Camelot Dam. We've had this many years ago where there was dead firewood in there, and also there was some tree trimming that needed to be done. I can give you pictures if you'd like, of what I'm talking about here. So that-
Okay, go
It's
ahead.
not, So. I'll get back to my seat here so you can hear me. So what's happening is, there's some tree trimming that needs to be done to maintain the height and the width of the clearance of the road. And that is also for response vehicles. Right now, there are trees that are growing. I mean, they're all kind of caved in together when you drive through there in some spots. And at the end, there's some bushes that would need to be trimmed up, and there's some dead firewood. And so I'm bringing it to property because I guess we need a decision on who would you want to do that. There is an offer out there that Sherwood volunteers, there's volunteers from Sherwood that go around Lake Sherwood, they go around once a year. It's through a Firewise grant, and they do tree trimming and cutting of the brush or the trees. And then they'll pile it up curbside, and then it's picked up by the township. We've used them in the past because it's kind of difficult to get people to go up there and cut wood. Years ago, our maintenance guy offered to do that, one of them, and then gas was too expensive to do that. So we use the Sherwood volunteers. I guess that would be my recommendation. They would not get to it until fall or winter, but that is fine. They can still get through there right now. It's not, anything, it's just something that needs to be done.
Okay, Darren, do you have any comments on it?
Yeah, I did, previously in the last month and a half or so, that Land Conservation and I have been in contact with each other. The first immediate adjacent property owner to the south side of that had concerns about some dead trees right on that property line, and I had volunteered services, if we have the tractor up in that area, to go over there and take care of two of the, I don't know what your pictures actually show, there's a couple of dead jack pines right on the end, and get that first corner cleaned up somewhat and move to the back where there is some other brush piles already. It's just same difference. We probably would have already had that done, but with my assistant manager being out with the shoulder, we haven't had a vehicle up there, the tractor up there to do that. And I would still entertain that I wouldn't, when we get up there doing anything else, it's not that much work to get the one tree out of the way and move a couple of the other piles of brush. Or downfalls that are on the end of that road.
Were you contacted by the landowner?
Not the landowner, my land conservation was contacted by the adjacent landowner concerned that the trees were gonna fall on their side of the property line.
Because when you go in from the northwest off of 10th Avenue, and those pictures in that first picture that is showing, those trees are not on Adams County property that are leaning over. So we would have to get the okay of cutting.
On
those
10th
trees.
or on Fossil Court. It's on that same corner, actually, the way I see the property stakes when I was up there and looked at it, they were actually all on ours. These two dead jack pines right here.
Yeah, there's a couple trees right here on this corner that are actually on that property. It looks like it's on ours, but it's on that property. The fire chief and I went up there and looked at it. So we would have to get the okay on that property owner.
I could talk to Anna and have her see if she wants to get back a hold of them again also. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's, if you guys want to have some volunteers do it, that's fine also. It doesn't cost anyone anything.
Well, the question I have, do we have a liability if we have volunteers do it?
They're, so usually what they do is they have a waiver. Typically, that's what DNR does with the Firewise community. And usually they sign a waiver for the volunteers. That'll all be through that grant. That would not come through the county, so. I
If they
tell you
can't
that
get it
for
done
sure.
till fall or winter, maybe Darren might be quicker.
On that corner? Yeah, on that corner.
Just looking here, it looks like there's a lot of trees and they're pretty overgrown. You should consider tending some of the invasive species that are already in there.
open up those lifetime.
So I guess I'm after your opinion, Gary. You think you can get it done before fall or winter?
Yeah, I think we could, as far as our, you know, our department getting it done, I don't know, in my opinion, there would be the same, I wouldn't, leave it stacked on the side of the road out there for their curbside fire cleanup. I would move it back into that property where there's some already some other downfall brush piles and things like that, versus it's nature, let some of that wood rot give a rabbit a place to live for the winter.
So, can I,
Go ahead, Jane.
okay, so if you leave that dead wood in there, they want that dead wood cleaned up there. They are finding properties up there for having dead wood out. They are trying to clean up all of the areas up there. So I wouldn't recommend leaving any dead wood.
I know they have
They have a ordinance.
resolutions and ordinances, you might want to check and see.
Yeah,
what
they
they
have an ordinance that they can actually fine the property owners for leaving dead wood now. And also not, they can recommend that these trees be cut by a certain time.
That
Sorry, Darren, I'm
that
just.
gives me
I
a
was
question.
over-
I can't.
Adheres to that or not, but I know they do have it. We received.
I like Darren's idea. The bunny rabbit's got to have a place to live. What do you think, Darren? You think we should let the volunteers go ahead and clean it out?
Honestly, either way, whatever you guys wanna, whatever your wishes are, we'll try to do and work with.
What are the thoughts of the committee?
Yeah.
What was that? Those are my feelings. Darren's in charge. Let Darren work it out with either volunteers or his own group.
Is that Parks land or Adams County land? My understanding was it was Adams County land.
That's part of the dam property,
Yes,
the way it's listed.
right.
And I was offering help because of interdepartmental working together, because we do that all the time with them, more than others probably, with their staff issues also.
I don't think we need a motion for that. Is that satisfactory, Jane?
What was the final determination?
To let Darren work it out either with volunteers or his own people?
I guess I need to let Firewise community, the DNR also know, and the fire chief and Rome, what the outcome will be here, what we've decided. Since it is an evacuation route.
Mike, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna see the fire chief at 4 o'clock for a police and fire commission meeting. I can let him know whatever the decision is the committee makes. The Rome does have a brush and timber ordinance. They divided the town into 5 different districts. And they're working on, I think, District 2 at the moment, where they send letters to all the homeowners then clean up their properties, put the brush out by the roadway, and then town comes along and picks it up. The only way that somebody's gonna get fined for having uncut timber that's dead or whatever on their property is if somebody basically complains right now, because there is nobody that actively goes out and searches for dead timber and brush ordinance violations. So if the brush is left there for a little while, I don't think it's gonna be a big issue, so either way, I think leaving it up to Darren to get a hold of the Sherwood Property Owners Association, or was folks that are involved in Firewise or having his crew do it themselves, I think it's a great idea.
I think, Mike, they were gonna, DNR had mentioned they were going to open that up to the whole entire area in the fall this time. They always take sections, and they're talking about opening it up to everyone this time.
And I'll check, and if there's any major changes that either one of you need to be aware of, I'll get a hold of you and let you know after I talk to the fire chief tonight.
Okay. I'm good with that, Darren. I think that if you think you're too busy and you want to turn it over to the volunteers, that's your decision.
Could be a group effort all the way around, yeah.
I know you're shorthanded, so.
Yeah, like I said, it could be a group effort altogether. We can get a good start to get the dead stuff out of the way, and then if they want to do a little bit more around that end and, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Wasn't there another question, Jane, about the cable across the dam?
I took that up with Dusty, since he oversees the dam, but yes, there's a cable that's there that has a lock on it. And if fire or police or anyone has to respond up there to an incident, which they have in the past, they are going to, if they don't have a key, they're going to cut it. Dusty agreed that he thought that the fire chief had a key already, but he doesn't. He's going to get one hopefully for them. And I also suggested that the police chief have a key also. The
I
other-
believe the fire departments, the ambulance, the sheriff's department, I believe everybody carries bolt cutters.
Yeah, and then the other question on that was, and I talked to Dusty about that too, they have a sign that says no traffic to motorized vehicles up there that's, you can barely read it, it's faded, that needs to be replaced. So he's gonna do that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We have the next meeting date all set. Any items for the next agenda? Josh?
Mr. Chair. I move to remove the liability of the Grandmere School by the school board as it continues to remain vacant and past sale attempts by the school board have failed, and bring it into this committee and be sold as it should be in a public auction in the best interest of the county and Newchester.
But Josh, we have nothing to do with that property. It's not county property. It's owned by the school district. It's their decision to do as they will. We have nothing to do with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other items for the next agenda? I consider the meeting adjourned.
Still